able to be here. Great. So welcome to our community call for, how is it the 25th of April already, 2023? I'm glad that you're here. We're going to be talking about program alumni and volunteers as part of your organization's larger orbit. Before we start though, because we have a little bit smaller group, it would be great to do just a quick round of introductions so that we kind of know where each other is sitting. If there's a piece of this conversation that's been kind of sitting on your mind since you heard about it that you're holding, I would love to know what that is. So if you want to share your name, the name of your center, maybe where you're located, and then just what it is that you're kind of bringing to the conversation, a curiosity. I can start and I'll model doing this briefly. My name is Ben. I'm the program director for RCC. I live and work in Michigan. And I am interested in learning about what already exists at different centers that engages program alumni. That seems like an interesting opportunity, and I have not seen how many of your centers do that. So it's a learning opportunity for me. And maybe we can pass it to the next person in the row. So I'll pass it over to Sandy at Prairie Woods.
Hello, Sandy Rosenberger, Development and Volunteer Coordinator here at Prairie Woods. We are in Eastern Iowa. If you're familiar with the Cedar Rapids area, we're in Hiawatha, right outside Cedar Rapids. We are part of the wonderful FSPA headquarters out of La Crosse, Wisconsin. We're one of their locations, and I am fairly new here, started in early December, and we are, like most nonprofits, lost lots of volunteers throughout the COVID years. And then I find a lot of people just got out of the notion of volunteering, which is difficult, and just haven't chosen to come back. So we are really trying hard to find new volunteers, and we're doing that through obviously people that come here to our programs and retreats, and but we also go out to a lot of public events where other nonprofits are at and try to recruit there as well.
Maybe I'll pass it over to Mindy at Dominican Center because you're already off mute. Hi, Mindy.
Hello, nice to see everybody. I'm sorry, I'm just reading the question here. Yes, so I'm Mindy Hills. I'm the director of Dominican Center in Grand Rapids, and we went through a lot of transitions in the last 2 years, like everyone. But for us, the sisters sold their mother house, and so our programming moved to the campus of Aquinas College. And so we're now located on the campus, and you would think, oh, well, you're surrounded by all kinds of students. There would be ample volunteerism going on there, right? So that was my hope, and it has not been the case. So I'm interested in what other people have to say about areas of volunteerism that they're, resourcing. And as for volunteering, I think it's sort of a lost art. I don't know what's happened, but it's slim picking here. So is that all I was supposed to talk about? Yes. Okay. Am I supposed to pass it to someone else, Ben? Or okay.
If you'd like to, yeah, go for it.
Okay. So how about Jamie?
Thanks, Mindy. So I'm Jamie Deering. I'm with the Franciscan Sisters of Little Falls as their Director of Programs Ministry, and I am in month 6. Yeah, 6 of being here. And as has already been mentioned, COVID changed the landscape for us because this is the mother house. One of the changes was the availability of associates to come and be with the sisters and to volunteer. Up until last week, we were still in masks because part of the center is assisted living. And so that's been a really interesting navigation. And so there's that piece. But for me, what I'm interested in is the program alumni. for 4 cohorts, there has been an engaging Franciscan spirituality program. The first iteration was a couple of years. I was in the class that was a 6-month program. And those 4 cohorts, once they graduated the program, are just off all over Minnesota, actually probably all over parts of the United States, and how to bring them together in a meaningful way to help reconnect them with the Franciscan sisters and with each other. So that's what I'm interested in listening into. Yeah. And let's see, I will pass it to the Franciscan Spirituality Center. Jean and Hope.
Thank you. We were having some technical issues, so we'd moved rooms. So just coming back into it. But I'm Jean Pagliaro, and then I'll pass it along to Hope here. Hope is brand new, started a week ago today. So she's our Director of Community Engagement and Development. So, but we're located in La Crosse, Wisconsin. We actually share building space with the FSPA Mother House. And so Prairie Woods is one of our sister congregations and sister spirituality centers. And so we're really, there's 3 of us. And so really grateful to still be connected to Prairie Woods, and our other one is Marywood. So a couple of pieces really interest us in this conversation and topic. First, we have a spiritual direction preparation program. It's a 3-year program. And so we really do have alumni. And historically, we've just not done a great job engaging our STPP alumni. And that's at least 25 people per cohort. And that's over 500 alumni that we have. And so really wanting to develop that more. And then also we do have volunteers. We've got a pretty good volunteer base, but we have not done a lot, especially since COVID, to build up that volunteer base and also to recognize and thank our current volunteers. So really looking forward to this information and conversation. Hope.
Hi, everyone. As Jean said, I'm brand new, but not new to business development and fundraising. I did 5 years at Fetzer University and just moved across the street to be even closer to the center and the sisters. So really excited to get engaged and talk about the alumni piece as well. I think there's a good opportunity to really have them be an engagement piece and also a recruiter for partnerships and also participation in programming. So excited to be here today.
Oh, and I think we're supposed to pass it along. I don't know who we missed when we were switching rooms. So
I can jump in and help you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Ben.
Let's go over to Mary Kate at Our Lady of the Pines.
As Ben said, my name is Mary Kate. I'm from Our Lady of the Pines Retreat Center in Fremont, Ohio. And my role is I am the sponsored retreat coordinator. So I oversee all of the retreats that we put on in-house. I would say 90% of what we do is hosted retreats, but we do have about 10% of the retreats that we put on ourselves. And they have a very large fan following. So we do about 4 sponsored retreats a year, and we get the same people every year. And it's wonderful that they have that connection to here. And as the sponsored retreat coordinator, I'd love to develop more of that alumni mentality of they can be ambassadors for us when they're not here. So trying to kind of build up that element to our ministry here and what we do with the retreats. Because again, we have a lot of people who really love this. They even have like their certain room that they want when they come. And so how can we kind of capitalize on that alumni love for this institution, which a lot of them come from out of state, so they're not local to this area. So that's also a really great thing that we'd love to be able to utilize and better connect with for sure.
Maybe we'll pass it over to Kelly.
Sure. Hello, everybody. My name is Kelly Lemons, and I'm the director of the Place to Be Spirituality Center located in Saukville, Wisconsin, which is, gosh, maybe 20 miles north of Milwaukee, so southeastern Wisconsin, 2 miles from the lake. So we are relatively new on the scene as far as retreat centers are concerned. We're approaching our 5-year anniversary, so we're really excited about that. But for most of that time, we had been a sponsored ministry of a Catholic Church until last July when we became independent. So in the transition from being a sponsored ministry into an independent ministry, we basically recreated our board and have really just been spending a lot of time this last year getting our legs underneath us. So I'm very interested in this conversation because, like I've heard from Mary Kate, you talked about having your core participants who come to everything. We have a lot of people like that too. But also in this transition, we had a lot of people who I think have drifted away, which would qualify as the alumni. So I'm very interested in how to re-engage our alumni. I'm also interested in, our board is talking a lot about how do we recruit new board members and how do we, engage people more deeply. And so the conversation around leveraging those in our community who we know are involved in other faith communities and trying to build those relationships. And so I'm just curious how others are doing some of that and getting other people engaged more in leadership roles. I don't seem to have such an issue in getting volunteers to do tasks, but it's more filling leadership roles for us. So thanks for hosting this. And I guess Francisco, I think you're still out there.
Thank you, Kelly. Francisco Burgos, and I am joining you from Pendle Hill in Wallingford, Pennsylvania. This is a Quaker retreat center, a little bit different from what Kelly said. We have been around in September, we will celebrate our 93rd anniversary. So running there, I am very curious to see how we can proactively engage with our alumni, recognizing that we used to have a residential student programs that people that were living here for terms, and as they were experimenting their own exploration and as they were participating in certain classes that were offered here as part of the retreat center experience. And that program was stopped in 2015. And we managed to bring it back only for one term last year. So as I speak, we are in the second cohort of what we are calling the spring term, very small. So I share this because I know that our alumni from that program, we know that are in certain Etarian group. And we offer other retreats and workshop opportunities that I do believe has a lot of potential for us to engage with those friends with a alumnus mentality. And at the same time, the volunteers aspect of Pendle Hill is still alive. During COVID, we suffered a lot because we were not able to welcome people on campus as we were closed. But a few of our faithful volunteers remain with us, and until today, they are still coming back. But this is an area that we would like to grow and see what will be the attractive points that we will be able to make for making this happening. Because I think that inviting people to share their gifts with us may be another way for us to be in reciprocity with them. I don't know. I am just curious of those explorations. And I think that I will pass it to Erin.
Hello all, I'm your friendly neighborhood RCC admin assistant. I work with Ben and I'm here to support all of you and take notes and just help you guys do what you do, which I'm always happy to do. You'll probably see me a lot on Facebook too, so If you want to have some fun interactions with me, hop onto our Facebook group, and I would love to see you there. I'll put a little link in the chat for anyone who's interested. And I will pass it to Paul. I know you just hopped in here.
So what's the question? Not my most embarrassing moment because I haven't heard any yet. So
So we're introducing ourselves, sharing your name, your retreat center, and what interests you about the question or about this conversation of revolving around volunteers and program alumni.
okay, Paul Mock. I'm director at Lindenwood Retreat and Conference Center, which is in Plymouth, Indiana, about 30 minutes south of South Bend. The volunteer and alumni. Couple things. Number one is that I just actually came back from New Orleans to a development conference and really hitting on some of those who have come here many years of working that relationship. You know, because as nice as the sisters are here in their community and they've supported us for, you know, the first 40 years of our ministry, it's now asking that question, how do we survive for another 40? As we come to our 40th anniversary, and really using that to say, how do we make the ask and buy in to what we're doing? If it's been that important to those people that have been here, is it important enough for them to keep it going for others next generation and that kind of stuff? So we're really kind of, my whole shift as director has shifted more to once, and the thing is I'm retiring in 10 years, but it's like, okay, they'll always have money here then, but what about the next director? So that they don't have to worry about, you know, where's our, you know, money coming from? Because we all know retreat centers don't make gobs of money hand over fist to just put it aside for a rainy day. And so that's key. And then also, we're really trying to work with bringing people here to both serve on the grounds and volunteerism that way, and make that connection of ownership to those people by them doing the service, but also then meeting afterwards to us serving them in a give and take, instead of just, oh yeah, come and do a service week or service day or whatever it is, and then just, okay, that's all you did. No, how do we serve them back in the inner service of their cleaning their inner side? So we're working on those starting up now. And raise your hand if you haven't gone. Was that the last one? All right. You have your center there, but I don't have your first name, but I'll just call on you for that.
So I'm Trevania Henderson. I'm with the Dharmakaya Center for Wellbeing in Cragsmore, New York. And I think I think many of us, we run on volunteer power. So engaging those volunteers, not just in the time that they're with us, but as they disperse through the world, both to send their friends to come volunteer and perhaps to come. We do have people who return as volunteers, and we've had people who return as participants, but how can we increase that? But I actually think more than our volunteers, keeping people coming back to programs. You know, it's lovely if they come once, but it's better if they come many times a year, or at least every year. So that's of interest to me.
Thank you, Trevania.
And I think there's no one left to pass it to.
Yes, we have a couple new folks in the room with their cameras off, and I don't know if either of you are able to speak, Sandra and Ratna, but if either of you would like to introduce yourself and share what you're interested in, I would welcome you to pipe in. And Marta is joining us. Maybe we'll let folks get settled and continue on. Marta, I don't want to put you on the spot right as you come in. So let me go through some of the comments that I'm hearing here. For some centers, volunteering is like the backbone of how you do what you're doing. For other centers, you're realizing, kind of like Paul was saying, like it's changing your role a little bit to think about volunteers pulling more of the weight of the work that you do compared to what was done in the past. And then for some centers, like the program alumni population is just really big, like huge opportunity there. And maybe for other centers, you're not, you've got a way that you're already engaging with that group, or maybe you're not thinking about your program alumni as a group that you could do something with, that you could target in a very specific way. So that's interesting to hear that for some of us, the programs are very in-depth. I forget who was speaking about it, but it's like if you're doing a spiritual direction training program that's for 6 months, I mean, you're really engaged with the center. You know the center pretty well at that point. That's a different kind of program alumni than someone who just does an afternoon. So I'm curious to kind of feel into that a little more. Like, I'm also curious about this, sounds like a ramp of engagement between a program alumni and then moving into ambassadorship kind of role. And then maybe even this, even closer, like they could become a funder or a donor, or somehow they could connect you with other communities that they're involved with, or even maybe lead programming from another angle. So I'm curious if folks have things in place that allow that transition to happen, and maybe not. Maybe that's maybe I'm making connections that aren't there. Did other folks hear connections that surprised them, or that they're curious to explore more as we all kind of went around the room?
The program alumni idea is, I think, kind of new to us. And I love the concept of it. And I need to dig into our records on Retreat Manager to see some of those folks. We tend to, though, with everybody that comes here for programming or meetings or whatever, we automatically put them on our email list, and they're able to get our newsletter and see if they want to volunteer. And I guess we've had the most luck also collaborating with businesses in our community. We're a fairly big community. I guess I wouldn't call it big, but probably around metro area, 250,000. So we have a lot of employers. And, a lot of employers nowadays have BTO or volunteer time off for their employees, because their employees want to be able to volunteer during the day. Sometimes their after work lives are too busy. So if you can get in the door and talk to some of the employers too, you can get some really engaged volunteers who all of a sudden, when they get to your center, really find that it's an amazing place for them, and they bring friends or relatives. And we're also big enough that we have a United Way in our area, and they have United Way Day of Caring, which brings company teams out to all the nonprofits in town. That's been wonderful, because on the United Way site here in Eastern Iowa, we can also post all of our volunteer opportunities.
Another theme I was hearing folks mention that I wasn't quite aware of is that the COVID pandemic really shifted how people are thinking about volunteering. That seemed like a thread that I was hearing across a few shares. Have you seen changes in that over time? Are folks getting less and less? I mean, is that actually a trend that's continuing to decrease their interest in volunteering? It's kind of
That is, sorry, I'm sorry, I'll let someone else talk. But yes, in our metro area, all of the nonprofits are really scrambling for volunteers.
So I would say we've had exactly the opposite experience. We've gone from really working hard getting volunteers to being inundated with applications, in part because people think that they can apply and say, oh, and I'll be there next Tuesday. And it's like, well, no, actually, we have next month planned. We can talk to you about 2 months from now. But I think that it's less the COVID or it's the post-COVID, everybody leaving, the quiet quitting. And so they're looking for something that feels more fulfilling than corporate work or at least those are the people that seem to be coming to us.
Mhm. Other thoughts?
I will say for those who are looking for volunteers, that it definitely has, for us at least, also fed on itself. So volunteers who've had a good experience tell other people. We've had a couple of people post it on their social media, and we know that that works. But I was also talking to someone on Sunday who said that she had met 2 of our volunteers at various other places, which is what led her to us.
Paul?
I just kind of question, because I look at what we have out here, and we're very rural, so there isn't a whole lot of community within a large area that most of the people who live around here work here. And that with 300 people. And so I'm wondering if volunteerism is easier for, like, I'm just thinking like Indianapolis, which is that those type of retreat centers would be able to have more volunteers in a more solid city than a place that's more rural, which some of our retreat centers are also. And that just how the volunteerism would work there. And that.
Good morning and welcome to Las Vegas. Flight 2138 with services. Thank you.
Woo, yeah, let's all get on.
Yeah, I'm ready to fly.
Yeah, but then the neat thing here too is the Poor Handmade Sisters actually give every employee 96 hours of VTO, so they can go do service and it counts as work. So we've actually done more service out into our community and areas from here out than out in, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it does. It does.
Okay.
I wonder if you could do direct outreach to businesses or some collective of businesses in the South Bend area, you know, a half hour, 45 minutes away, if that would be worth it to them to drive down and have this kind of other experience. It might be kind of a perk, like, hey, come out to the country, see some beautiful trees, do some service. Yeah, I'm curious how you could brand it almost as like a volunteer experience.
Yeah, and that's what we're working on a bit. So the come in and serve.
Paul, there's a question for you in the chat about, does each employee get 96 VTO hours a year? Wow.
Wow.
Yeah, eight hours a month.
Wow.
And that, but some people are able to use it, like, especially if it's sisters have like a mission down in the El Paso, Mexico border area. And so like a group can go down for a week and do service down there, and they can count all that as work and not take PTO to go do it. So.
We actually have the problem being in a bigger metropolitan areas because we have so many nonprofits. We're all competing for the group, you know, of volunteers of the people. So it can be the opposite problem too.
One of the things I was going to add, though, the sad part is not enough people are even using anywhere close to that 96 hours. I think there's maybe 1 or 2 people that even get close to doing the 96 hours, and most don't use hardly any of it.
Send them to some of these other retreat centers in the West. I'm wondering if I can bring us back to some of what Francisco was talking about, re-engaging program alumni and this idea of reciprocity, like really speaking about it as a relationship. And like, we've hopefully as a center supported your growth and development, and you know, what is a way that we could invite you back into supporting our center? Do other folks have a way that you're phrasing that or doing that, sort of a package in a way that you reach out? Or is that something that's kind of new for most of us?
So we're just starting to experiment with this a little bit with our spiritual direction preparation program alumni. we have 4 staff spiritual directors, but most of our spiritual directors on staff are at capacity. So we literally just within the last 6 weeks have brought on what we call 3 partner spiritual directors. So they are not actually directly staff, but where they're more subcontracted in a way, and they don't get paid unless they have spiritual directees. And so, and we intentionally reached out to our spiritual the STPP alumni, and 3 very willing and enthusiastic yeses right off the bat. And so, just starting to engage that process.
Is your center able to make a little profit off of
Yes.
those appointments?
Yes,
Yeah.
so yeah, I forgot that part. So they receive a certain percentage and then we receive a certain percentage, and it's good.
We do that as well.
I would like to learn more about that.
Sure, happy to share how that, and we're so new to it now, but so far it's been really good. And the other piece is that there's 2 that will come in person or they can do virtual, and we have 1 that is solely virtual. And so they're not even directly, they're not even within 100-mile radius of us.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, that just makes your center relevant in all these different facets that
Yeah.
otherwise wouldn't be there. Yeah, it's cool. Other ideas or connections bubbling up as we talk through this? Gaps that you have questions about for your own center's work?
I don't know if everybody has grounds, but we have 70 acres here at Prairie Woods. And so we're able to attract really a completely different volunteer than the ladies that work in our office at nights and weekends. And it tends to run younger and male, which is a nice change of pace for us, because we're pretty typical with older women as our volunteers. But engaging them, we have a Woodland Wednesday, it's called, where they all come out on Wednesdays and work on our grounds, doing all kinds of things. And then we have a wonderful chef and provide them a beautiful meal for lunch on Wednesdays. And so that's been really fun and a great way to get newer, different people in.
Have you found that that's almost been like a recruitment strategy for retreat participants too? Like, does volunteering open a door?
It absolutely does. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Because they begin to, and it's really fun because we all eat lunch with them, all the staff, we try to eat lunch with them and really talk about what's happening. And, so that has absolutely been a great door to get them into our other programs or to volunteer elsewhere.
I mean, that's part of why I'm in this role, is I volunteered at Gilchrist. I went to Gilchrist 2 or 3 times and I was like, I love this place.
Yeah, for sure.
How could I be a part of a whole national group of retreat centers?
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
One opportunity too that a lot of people don't know about is the AmeriCorps program. There's we have what's called Green Iowa AmeriCorps, and it tends to be more of the outdoor types of jobs. And it's either a year-long or summer term, and they get paid a small amount while they're working and then a college stipend at the end. Highly encourage people, if they can look into that. That is a great way to get, so usually young people, but not always, because sometimes older people will get in the AmeriCorps program. And they just bring this amazing energy, and it's very affordable. And a lot of times they do stay after their term and volunteer with us.
One of the things that we did with helping alumni connect in with sisters, but also with each other and the broader community, was I invited one of the alumni from the Engaging Franciscan Spirituality program to come and be the speaker for a Lenten Day of Reflection. And it was a first time experience for her in doing something that involved. And I was so excited to walk alongside her. And it was so well received. The sisters love it. She's 29 and just coming into her own, a scientist. So she had a really different life, and she brought that. And so that was a beautiful event that we'll do again. I'll be looking to our other alumni to come and use their gifts that way.
We've got a question from Marta in the chat. It says, I probably missed this, but does everyone have a dedicated staff person who coordinates volunteers?
I see a lot of no's, maybe one yes, only one yes.
Kind of.
Trevania, kind of.
I do
So we
most
have-
of the interviews, but then we have someone on site who manages them.
Okay.
So our office manager is also volunteer coordinator, so roles are combined.
And I do
So it's
development too
maybe
as
a
well,
third of her
so
job.
it's busy.
I'm hearing the relational piece, Jamie, around not quite mentorship, but kind of a walking alongside and bringing them in closer so they can go into a more leadership role.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And there was a mentoring aspect, and
Okay.
and a partnering, that was both, and yeah, it was really quite lovely. Yeah. And because she had a good experience all around, she wants to do it again, and has talked with other people in her age range and alumni about the experience. Yeah, there was a lot of enthusiasm for that. So I
We
look
have a
forward to doing it
local
again.
volunteer peer group that's really excellent with all the nonprofits in town. And what the trends that they're seeing is that people want to do their volunteer orientation and training at home online. So, because so many people are used to being online now, that a lot of places have switched to all online orientation and training, or as much as possible. And then, then they come in to volunteer. We have not done that here. I just love the one-on-one, having them come in, but I know that is definitely a trend and people want that.
Mhm.
I have a question for Jamie. When you brought in your alumni to lead that program, did you pay her, or was it like she did it for free out of like a donation to your program? Because having experienced your ministry, like she's like, oh yeah, I want to give back to this,
Mhm. She would have given back to it, and I did pay her in respect for the time and
Yeah.
effort and
Yeah.
all that. So yeah, she would have, and
Okay.
because it's a tradition in the program to pay someone, we did.
Yeah, okay. Because we have that kind of similar dynamic where we get retreatants who are very qualified and skilled, and are very willing to come back for X, Y, and Z, like to lead a program. And sometimes we are able to pay them, and sometimes we're not able to pay them. So I was just wondering how that worked in your situation.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot, and who knows that she didn't just turn around and donate it back. That's a possibility.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Which of course I don't know, but possibility.
I assume it was structured more like an honorarium.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, it was an honorarium. Yeah, thank you for that word.
I have to share that, with the long-term volunteers that is still related to Pendle Hill, I found they are so generous. These are people that not only dedicate their time and their skill, but also they show up with checks at, in different time of the year. So it's, I don't know. I know that this is not all the types of volunteers that we have, but they exist. The people that accompany you financially, and that they will be open to do whatever need to be done to keep the retreat center, you know, open and beautiful and stuff like that. So I have a handful of them that has been here for a while. Yeah, for a while. Now, my curiosity is how I can tap into a younger generation of people that may not be fulfilling the role of these type of volunteers that I just mentioned, but that may be critical for us to navigate these situations that are affecting us at Retreat Center today. Like, for example, our grounds is not very big, it's 24 acre, but you know, that require a lot of paying attention to a bunch of stuff. The engagement elements also of getting the word out. Is there is room for us to be recruiting there? If you have any experience on doing this type of recruitment, I don't know, I am eager to learn, and I know that I have a full team of people because we are a small staff community, and I know that each one of us is holding different tasks, that having a couple of volunteers from time to time to just helping with tiny stuff will be amazing.
Does volunteer outreach look different depending on the skill level of the volunteers you're looking for? Like if you need someone to just kind of pour some mulch on some bushes, maybe that's a different place that you would look for those folks than the people who want to come in and help with bookkeeping or, you know, something else that involves a little more technical skill. See you, Marta. Take care.
I wonder if you could do a meetup. If you had wanted people to come like on a stray Saturday afternoon to take care of your grounds.
I was thinking that too, a work party. Bring your gloves and a shovel.
That's what we used to do before we had all these people who were interested in a.
We work with schools too, particularly the Catholic schools in town, the middle schools and high schools, and they have such a service focus that they're always willing to come out. And we don't get as many church people coming here because I think sometimes they're volunteering at their own church. So that's not an area we've had a lot of luck in, but definitely the Catholic schools in town have been great.
Francisco, I was curious if there would be a way to connect with any organizations near you and find out if they do have VTO hours. And then you could maybe develop the partnerships with those organizations that actually have that plan in place, and kind of have it be a full site visit every so often, or maybe set up a pathway for them to just automatically sign up hours with you, and maybe even through their human resource office as a way for them to promote their program, and then as a way for you to benefit from the organization having that available.
Yeah, that's an excellent comment, because you got to get in front of the HR person at the company. And what we'll do is invite ourselves sometimes to their, we've got a big company here that has a big employee meeting every so often, and we get in front of all their employees because we know they have BTO. But you definitely, your path in is through HR.
Thank you. This is very useful.
I'm thinking of, it wasn't that long ago that I went back to college to get a degree, and they have volunteer fairs at a lot of the universities. Do you guys hold tables at those to let those college students know that you exist? I met so many organizations that I just had never even heard of.
Yeah, we go to a lot of those. We go to our local Pride Fest. We go to the ethnic festivals and have tables. Anywhere we can get a table, we're there.
I'm curious if other organizations, I know, I think Sandy, you mentioned United Way near you. Here in this community, the colleges use You Get Connected as a resource for their students who are needing those volunteer hours to fulfill some type of classroom work. So that's a big place where a lot of students in the La Crosse area look for opportunity.
Yeah. Definitely colleges, and we're lucky to have several colleges in town. We also, it's funny, there's just so many groups out there that you're not always aware of. We have a huge homeschool network in our metropolitan area, and homeschool moms oftentimes will want to bring their kids out here for volunteering or learning. And so it's just, you got to really try to find out what all those little groups are in your community too.
I'm
The conver-
curious.
Go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was thinking about the alumni. I was back to thinking about alumni, and I'm just curious if anyone has tried, because I've been thinking about it, sort of coffee hour, once a month, just people getting on a call and just sharing. And that would be an opportunity also to ask, kind of what is of interest to you if we did do something together, but just a casual, and for us, it would be on Zoom because again, the alumni are spread out. Has anybody tried something like that, gathering folks together?
We are planning to resume some type of alumni gathering. In the past, we hold like a alums weekend where people from several generations could get together here at the retreat center. But again, it has been a while since we haven't done that type of thing. We are exploring to do something using the technology that we have available today, because people are everywhere. And so we are looking to experiment a little bit with that, but with the dream that at some point next year, we will have 1 or 2 days where we will intentionally invite people to stop by as a way to reconnect.
Thank you.
I have a question about that. And to actually everyone, do you find that there's a best time of year to do that sort of intentional invitation to invite people into the center? Because of the rhythm of each of the centers, I'm just curious if you found that there's a best season or time that works to get more, the most out of your invitation.
For us has been a matter of combining that with the other demands that we have. It will harm us if we try to schedule that during a season that we know that other external groups are trying to use our facility. So we take that into consideration, and at the same time we are looking at the different programming that we are trying to put together. I don't know, we are not married to a particular season yet, but
We have something called YOLO, which stands for Your Other Lunch Option, and we do that once a month, and we just invite people in. They come in and have a beautiful lunch. They do have to pay some, but that is kind of an opportunity during the day to reach maybe business people that are around the area, come in for lunch and hear about Prairie Woods, see if they'll want to volunteer here, go to programming, and that's been really popular. And I have to hop off for another meeting. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Sandy.
One of the things that, so we have an associate minister who works with the associates, and she planned 2 days before the week-long retreat, she planned an associate get together. And the hope was then they would stay for the retreat, and some did. And so they had their own time, and then they joined the larger community for the larger retreat. And I thought it was a brilliant idea.
Similar to Francisco, we have a hard time scheduling things like this because our retreat center is so used by outside groups in the spring and in the fall that it's Ohio, so we can't really rely on winter being a reliable month for people to travel. But we kind of have defaulted to, when we do get togethers, they're in the summer, which isn't ideal because people are traveling for recreation and vacation and have kids out of school. So that's been a challenge to not necessarily, when we ask ourselves, what's the best time to hold this gathering? We don't really know what the answer is, because by default, we just have to have it on an off-season day or weekend. So.
Curious what other ideas are kind of floating there for us. Each time I pipe in, someone has something, so I'm just waiting for it to bubble up. This challenge around finding the perfect time is so similar to RCC, finding the perfect time to gather retreat center leaders for an annual retreat. It's like, when are they not busy? They're always busy. And we ended up choosing October. And I don't know if that was the best choice. Well, I guess we're kind of learning as we go. So, yeah.
I'll give you a recommendation.
Yeah.
Take us to Tampa in the winter. We'd be
Yes.
more than easy to do it in December, and it'd be very nice to go down somewhere warm like that, especially up in the cold. So
Brian will be happy to hear this. I think he's our furthest south center at Franciscan Center.
Just a hint.
Yeah. Couldn't agree more. As you well, I know, Francisco, you've been doing some you were doing some strategic planning, but do volunteers fit into some of your strategic plan, or is it sort of like patching the holes once you get everything going. I'm curious how core they are, or how core they could be. You know, is there a way that we can think about them differently, almost as an extension?
Well, if any of you know any volunteers, someone that want to volunteers in that particular area of strategic planning and forecasting the financial aspect of retreat centers for the next 4 or 5 years, send it my way. I can use them. I can use them. But it was quite interesting. Last 10 days ago, I have 2 people that are a landscape architect, you know, that reach out to say, hey, I would like to volunteers, and maybe there is an opportunity. One of them said, maybe there is an opportunity for me to sojourn here in exchange for. This is a service that I don't have right now the funding to pay for. Yeah. So I said, of course, when are we starting? Yeah, because there are critical areas that I would love to have some extra support. Of course, in the board, within my board, all of them are volunteers. Yeah, they bring so many gifts, but at the same time, you want to find somebody else that is not attached to the governance body of the organization, that can dedicate, you know, that extra hours from time to time to accompany you in this process. So yeah, I would love to see an strategic plan that incorporate the volunteering aspect in a more straight way. I am not there yet.
Take care.
One of the things that we did last year that I didn't connect it to volunteerism, but maybe there is a connection, is one of the local universities near us requires their students to have an internship in order to graduate. So regardless of their major, they have to have an internship. And that's been great for us to say to that university, like, you tell us who needs one and we will find an area that relates to whatever they're studying. And that is, I mean, we don't have to pay them as an intern because they need it for credit and they can't be paid. So that's been a nice knowing, like 3 months out of the year, we have someone in that role. Kind of like what you're describing with the landscaper, like wanting the experience.
I like that word of sojourning together, like really bringing them in close for a period of time to do a larger project. And yeah, it seems like that would be a rare opportunity that someone's interested and sort of offers themselves. But I would love to see more retreat centers find ways to build those kinds of partnerships where you still get to do what you do best. You provide the space and they get to do what they do best. And that just seems like a difficult marriage to plan ahead for. And so that's why I'm curious, like, are volunteers a part of our strategic plans, or do they end up being kind of add-ons? Maybe there isn't a way to build that outreach in a way that you know will pay off. Yeah, it's always a little bit of a gamble.
One of the things, so we have in St. Cloud, Minnesota, a welcoming house. And Welcoming House is in the process of hosting events and sponsoring events, just become known in the community. It's been in the community for over 20 years and no one knows it exists. It's been insulated up until COVID. In the Catholic system, they didn't need to let anybody know they existed because programs were full. And so one of the things that I did was draw an ecumenical group together, Lutheran, Methodist, Presbyterian, myself, I'm not Catholic, you know, we all came together and talking about what is ours to do now in this community. And my request of the 5 people that came together was that we would create this dream list, but then we would together create one event. And the commitment was you bring 2 people with you to this event. So not only do you help create it, but then your commitment is to bring people to it and to help it be successful. And so we created a contemplative prayer series for Lent. It was an ideal time as people were thinking about those things. And we had 24 people attend, which for us was like enormous. A woman from Portugal got on Zoom with us. And the people, the 5 who created this event and brought people, none of them led the event. So then I also drew on community volunteers, leaders, contemplative leaders who came and gave of their time and got to experience Welcoming House. And it was so meaningful for folks that they asked that we do it again. And so we're in our second contemplative prayer series. Now, one of those original 5 is now one of the leaders this time around. But it's just this mutuality and reciprocity going on that is blossoming in a real solid ecumenical way in the community. And it's been lovely.
Yeah, that's great. I would love to see more of that. That's wonderful. Because then the relationships are there, that they've already been together for a while. And so then when you invite new people in, they can feel that there's already relationships there. Yeah, it doesn't feel like an experiment that you're being thrown into.
After the first prayer series, though, I did need to note that we were an ecumenical group because the Catholics in the room assumed everyone was in their group. And so then that worked really well. The other thing that's happening is because I sing in a regional choir, I've invited them to come have our end of the year picnic. And it's a choir of over 50 people. And so again, inviting them just to come and have their picnic here with us. And so it's those little outreaches we've been talking about, reaching into businesses, but there are also the things that we're participating in that we can invite folks to participate in with us.
I want to pick up the AmeriCorps thread one more time. Other folks have experience with AmeriCorps, or was that just one center in the call?
There have been AmeriCorps volunteers with us.
In our, the FSPAs, they have 2 AmeriCorps volunteers and but we're in an interesting situation because we really don't care for any physical part of our land or building. So our needs are very different. And so we work alongside AmeriCorps volunteers. But the other piece that I wanted to share too, I don't know how many of you have a senior corps organization. Usually they're called RSVP. And I used to work for that organization, and they engage volunteers who are 55 and better. That's their tagline. And that's a great resource. And you can just go on. It's exactly like AmeriCorps. Although they don't get sent to places, usually it's the locations where they live, and then they're connected to the one here locally probably is connected to 65 organizations within the community, and the coordinator. So senior corps is also a great place, and just a wealth of volunteers. And so if you can get connected to a senior corps location, that would be a great thing.
You are giving me great homework.
Good. It's a success. Erin, as you're taking these notes, are you hearing other themes that I haven't flagged? I see several pages of notes here that I haven't even read.
I'm especially noticing the options for like bringing people together for like lunches. Like people love food, so that's a good way to get people to your center and learning about what you do. That seems to be standing out to me.
I was an AmeriCorps participant when I was 19, hugely formative experience for me to learn kind of, I was working in a neighborhood retreat center, a neighborhood community center, and learning how a neighborhood works. And I can see how bringing young people into a retreat center to learn how a retreat center works could just really change the way they think about spirituality or think about community. And I don't know, the intergenerational piece there is really appealing to me. And I know organizations that use that work with AmeriCorps. I'm curious what the challenges are up front to get that kind of organization process off the ground. Once it's going and you have a few years under your belt, I imagine that smooths out. But I'll be curious to hear from other retreat centers down the road if that's a viable way to bring in young people. I don't know. I'm just really curious about that.
You know, it occurs to me, I was in the Peace Corps at the age of 54. And there's all kinds of returning Peace Corps volunteers that could also serve. I wonder if there's a way to get connected in with our Peace Corps, returning Peace Corps volunteers, our PCVs.
I want to make sure we have room for other comments or questions that people have. I don't want to cut us off soon. So if there's more we want to dig into, feel free to even flag something for later. Happy to hold more calls that touch on this. I feel like the other thing that I kind of mentioned when I was giving our introduction is that this really ties into the retreat centers as resilience hubs thread, that retreat centers that are more networked with their alumni and volunteers are going to be more resilient. They're going to have more diverse stakeholders involved. And I don't think we often think of it that way, but it's exciting to see how this is just one thread of the future of retreat centers. And there are other ways that kind of mutually reinforce the resilience of our organizations. So as that conversation goes forward, this conversation is also a part of that. That's something that kind of came to me throughout the week with help from Oren, Oren at Commonweal has been organizing some conversations about resilience at retreat centers, organizational resilience, physical resilience in terms of energy resources and things like that, but also personal resilience in terms of burnout. How can we share the load? So yeah, a lot of themes active. Okay, I will give you your time back. Thank you for being here today. Look forward to connecting again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very informative and useful. Thank you.
Good.
Very much so.
We'll have the video and things up soon. Take care.
See you.